pushing all the buttons. We be live now, folks. We be live.
Don't poke
Unlike
Ginny.
this movie.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tomb of the Terrible. Tonight, we once again have to figure out, is this movie really bad, or is it just Italian? We seem to be getting a lot more of those now. So, to help me suss this out, we have Delphine over here. And then
Hello.
Friday and Chaos down there in the corner.
Hey.
And also Ron right underneath me. So.
And yay, Stefan made it.
Yay.
Yay.
Yay. Tonight's movie is titled Madhouse from 1981, also known as There Was a Little Girl, also known as And When She Was Bad, and unfortunately not also known as There's Something About Mary. Now, taking from the VHX box blurb, am I lagging? Am I lagging a bit?
I think a lot of us are, actually.
Might be.
Okay. So, taken from the back of the one of the VHS releases, Julia sits paralyzed with fear, the vicious dog snarling at her, its razor-sharp teeth gleaming, ready to attack, waiting to kill. The dog's master, her insane sister, stands by laughing, enjoying the terror she inflicts. Julia's nightmare has begun. They were identical. They were identical twins, both stunningly beautiful, but Mary, now grotesquely deformed, holds Julia responsible. She's going to make her sister suffer, just as she had suffered. Down in the basement of her home, the bloodbath begins. One by one, Julia's closest friends fall victim to Mary's insane vengeance. 3 meet savage ends as the killer dog rips them apart. 2 more are brutally murdered, sliced open by the jagged edge of Mary's butchering knife. Now it's Julia's turn.
Oh, good. So now I don't have to watch the movie after all of that.
So,
Why don't you just tell the whole movie on the back of the
You're
VHS
welcome.
box? That makes a lot of
So,
sense. They were trying to save you. They knew this movie was so bad. They were trying to save you from watching it by giving you the entire movie on the box.
They forgot the nursery rhymes, though.
Well, that was one of the VHS copies.
You could have saved us
That
all a
was one
lot
of
of
the
time,
VHS
James.
copies. Just. Mm-hmm. Okay, just some background information. This movie was released theatrically underneath the title There Was a Little Girl in Italy. The film was retitled Madhouse for the video market and was released several times on video. It was never released theatrically in the UK. It was released in England and its uncut form in 1983 before being pulled during the Video Nasty panic later that year. So let's go start with Del here. What you've watched this before? Now you said before when you originally watched it, it kind of touched you from the inside, but then revisiting it, you were wondering what you were freaked out about.
Oh, I've seen it. I first saw it when I was a little kid. So, because I mean, it came out when I was 6. I don't think I saw it that young, but before I was 10, for sure, I've seen this movie because that's when I had the head injury, and I remember things based upon that. But the opening credits, guys, like I'm going to show you some pictures here. They start off with it. This starts off in the far, far, far background, and the one girl is rocking the other girl, but it's way in the back, and through the whole thing, it's slowly getting bigger and slowly getting bigger as they're singing Rockabye Baby. And it just stuck with me and freaked the fuck out of me. Like, because, well, should we give the spoiler or let them watch it? Because it is one of those fascinating parts of an intro type of thing. Like Mr. Bartles would make us watch the intro to Vertigo like 3 times and take notes over stuff. That was something that really was good about it. The storyline is bizarre, but it also freaked me out as a kid. It was probably one of the gorier things that I'd seen up to that point. And even though the gore now, if I look back at it, it's like, oh, that's paint. Oh, that's this. Oh, whatever. So the effects aren't as good, but for the time, it was the creepiest thing I'd see. We had, like, we talk about, I get it confused in my head sometimes with Pet Sematary because of the Zelda scene and Mary. I would get those two kind of interlocked in my head, the twin who's suffering from a skin disease. And so there's this great tension between the characters, but all of a sudden, yeah, just bizarreness happens, which is what we're going to talk about with, is it a B movie or is it Italian? Because you're suddenly just like, wait, where the fuck did all this come from at once? So yeah, before I go on and give a lot of spoilers, because we'll discuss that all more after everybody gives their initial impressions. Yeah, I started off and was like terrified, watched it later and was like, eh. And then watched it again for this and was like, oh, okay, wow. Yeah. So I've had my feelings up and down on it. And currently they're kind of up on like, okay, wow.
Yeah.
So, sorry. That was me.
So, how many people, no worries. How many people here, this is their first time watching it? Okay, so Del was the only one who has seen it before. Friday and Chaos, what were your initial thoughts on this?
It looked like one of the movies I'd been watching with my mother-in-law, one of those thriller-type horror movies that it feels like I had watched it with my parents when I was younger type of thing, but I don't remember it at all. That was my initial thoughts of the movie. I don't remember.
I
Chaos?
actually, oddly enough, enjoyed it. I like the older. I've always been a fan of a lot of the.
I'm sorry?
I've always been a fan of the older style movies, and this one actually had a couple. It wasn't as predictable as I find a lot of movies to be.
Okay.
There was a couple of twists that I didn't quite predict. That was good. I liked it.
So, okay. So, Ron, we come to you now.
This was a movie that I felt so meh about that I couldn't even come up with a good rant for it. Partially because I really only have one major point of contention with this movie. The one thing that really bothers me more than anything else, and it's the supposed plot twist when you find out who the real killer is and what is actually going on. And we can delve into that more as we go along. I feel like this is a movie that had a great setup, had a great concept. It starts out laying out exactly as you would expect a movie of this nature to do so, and everything is fine. I'm perfectly okay with the movie and everything up to that point until they get to the plot twist. But it was so bizarre and took me by such surprise that it threw me out of the movie, and I just thought, okay, that's just stupid. And then it sort of took away from my enjoyment of the rest of the movie because the plot twist was just so random. But other than that, it's not a great movie, but it's not a bad movie either.
Interesting. Well, my excuse me there. My initial thoughts on this is this falls squarely underneath. This is definitely an Italian film made to look like it was made in America. And unlike you, Ron, I would have to say that the bizarre, unexplained plot twist itself actually lends to the overall feel that of just insanity that's happening around her. Because the thing about these Italian movies, they go more for well, style over substance. And when you're going for a certain feel, a lot of things like plot logic gets put on the back burner. And also, let's face it, that the Father James, the uncle character, was just delightfully insane when he finally comes up to it. So I just saw a derp on the screen. I hope that makes things better. So let's see. I do have some notes that I took. So the stuff that I liked, and we can chime in whenever we want. Just let me get through the notes here. The stuff that I liked, the true star of the movie, Jerry Fujikawa. He played Mr. Kimura in this movie. He was also in Chinatown, but the most influential role that I remember him in is as second ERL expert in one of my favorite sci-fi movies ever made, The Cat from Outer Space. That was just amazing. I love that movie. And that basement party scene at the end certainly beats the one in Winter Beast. I'll just go ahead and say it. Yeah. And the fact that, Uncle James, if you will,
Uncle Father James.
Carrie, Dell has Uncle Father James, like cousin Grandpa, but yeah, the bad guy is named Uncle James. So I don't know how to feel about that. On the one side, I'm like, wait, what? I'm the bad guy. And on the other hand, hey, I'm the bad guy. The fact that his shtick is he goes around singing nursery rhymes creepily and really, he's having a blast doing it. You have to just beautiful, just beautiful. So going back to Dell here, what were your some of your favorite scenes there?
Okay, well, after the intro, I'm going to do a quick picture thing so that people can kind of get a bit of an idea about what we're talking about. We meet Julia, who is the main protagonist of the story. She is a teacher at a school for hearing impaired children, and teaching them how to talk and stuff. And she is also between each like kind of setup of scenes, there is a countdown. This is the date, and this is how many days until Julia's birthday. And at first, you don't know why. You figure it out because her uncle, Father James, shows up to let her know that she needs to visit her sister in the hospital. And this is the first scene that we get of her visiting her sister, who has undergone some sort of infection that has caused her with terrible, debilitating skin condition, as well as some bodily movement things or whatever. And then we get to see this is what Mary's looking like as she screams at her and torments her on her way out, because Mary's not a nice child. Julia, we see her cry a lot because nobody believes her that when she was a little girl, Mary used to torture her on their joint birthdays. We do find out that Uncle Father James had raised the two girls. Their father was never in the picture. In a really weird throwaway comment, you learn that one that makes you kind of, well, aren't you nice? Since your mother died, you never really did know your father. He was never around or whatever. It's like judgment. You're a father, aren't you? But he just likes to say everything that she ever said that Mary ever did to her. She was being a naughty girl. She was making it up. He includes a lot of examples of like, oh, when you would have those nightmares and you would have like, because she elaborates how she's been like the girl, her sister would have a dog bite her and would stab her with pins and do things like that. And he was like, it was amazing. You'd wake up from these dreams talking about stuff, and you'd even have manifested red marks on yourself to make it look like it really happened. But totally doesn't believe her. But Mary escapes from the hospital after telling her that since their birthday's coming up, she's going to get her and make her hurt like she did before, because she's now the reason Julia got to say beautiful and Mary didn't. So she decides to go through, and we see her escape. We see a Rottweiler. We see a Rottweiler attack of unfortunately one of her favorite students, who I think she sees some of herself in. And Mary just does some nutty things. This was one of my best. Here is Mr. Kimura. One of the better weird shots, the way they shot this one. How her face and the angles on everything on that one went. And here is Mary, along with, praise be him, Uncle Father James, who is so fucking creepy. He just nails it. And he's like scolding her when she talks to her doctor. He's always like, oh, you always made up all these horrible things about Mary. When she's in church, he's giving a sermon on like, you need to honor your siblings, especially things like, oh, a sister. Can you imagine how God would hate someone who doesn't take care of their sisters or children or fathers, but a sister? And she has a boyfriend who's a therapist, and he tries to downplay everything to him, who finally is somebody who might believe that something has happened. But I just, that's what the whole like beginning of it to me was Uncle James, Uncle Father, whatever it is, just trying to destroy her emotionally before her sister gets a chance to jump in physically, because they let her know that she's escaped, and it's like, oh, no big deal. We'll be fine. One other nifty thing that I wanted to mention about this is that this movie was filmed in the Kehoe House in Savannah, Georgia, which you can go to. It's an actual haunted house, and now it is a hotel, and you can stay there if you would like for between about $220 to $400 a night, depending on the room and the night. But yeah, so no, I thought that the build up to it was, like I said, he was destroying her emotionally, and it feels like maybe that was something that had been going on since she was a kid, since he made references, which is why she is no doubt insecure constantly, because she never had any foundation for someone who believed in her ever since she was a child. That's what I got now that I've seen it multiple times.
Right. Okay. So, Friday, do you have what were some of your favorite points on this?
Okay, I just loved all the scenes when you see Uncle Father James just totally decide, you know what? You get to see all of my crazy at once. Every single bit of it is yours now. And she says, that's heavy enough to be a body. He's like, yes. And yeah, after that, the movie just gets more fun. And one thing I want to add on to Carrie's comment earlier about the Deep South, I just wanted to say, no, you can be at any part of the South and have a double first cousin. Just so we can clarify that.
Ding, 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 ding.
But it also made me wonder about what exactly was the whole relationship between the other twin and Father Uncle James. If it's just, let's do the crazy killing thing together, or what type of other crazy things they had planned. And the birthday scene at the end, I think, was my absolute favorite.
Okay.
Yeah,
that was something of that was a very amazing looking cake they had there. So, Ron, did you have any favorite points on this?
Favorite points. I guess my favorite point was when it was over. Let me think. I think the beginning is okay because I like the way that it's filmed. There were a few things that I found very interesting about some of the kill scenes in and of themselves. One is that not all of the kills were attributed to Mary. In fact, I think she only had one on-scene kill, and it was Kimura in the basement. Uncle Father James had one on-screen kill, and it was the neighbor lady, and all the rest of the kills were attributed to the dog. Now, whomever was commanding the dog, because Mary said that she could do it, but obviously I think Uncle Father James had some control over the dog as well, because it did not attack him when they were in the same room. They killed the deaf kid that Julia was thinking about adopting. They set up a relationship between them, and I thought that was pretty good. But then they end up killing that kid, but you do not see his death on scene. It is implied. And I thought that was really interesting for the time that this movie was made. They show everybody else, but they do not show that kid. Also, there's a very innocent cat, and I have major issues with that. That cat did not deserve to die. They showed a very brief glimpse of the cat being hanged, and I did not like that at all. I thought it was completely unnecessary. They didn't have to show it. They didn't even need to kill the cat, but it does serve as a point to set up how crazy that Uncle Father James is, or Mary, if she's the one that actually did it. I don't think it was necessary to kill the cat, but if you're trying to serve a purpose of showing how crazy this person is, then I get it. But I'm a cat person, and I didn't like it. I almost stopped watching the movie right there when I saw that they killed the cat, because I don't like that kind of thing. And by the same token, I mean, I don't like abuse toward animals in general. And they did end up killing the dog, which in a very interesting way, Black and Decker. And I mean, I didn't like it either, but the dog was crazy and under command. So I get the point that it had to die. So it was the one that committed a lot of the kills. So I get it, but the cat was completely innocent. It didn't do anything. And then when it turns out that Uncle Father James is
True.
like the major killer, and that's the plot twist, then I had an issue like, okay, that was completely random. It was out of the blue. I don't understand it. Why didn't they set this up from the beginning? Because it doesn't show any implication that he's a crazy person and setting it up. And they could have written that into the story better so that it made more sense when it turns out that that's the case. And maybe that explains why Mary is the way that she is. Would have made a lot more sense to me, other than him just coming out and being completely nuck and futso. But I mean, it's a movie, and it was a movie that I watched.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I do apologize greatly. I completely forgot about Chaos there. Chaos, what were your favorite points of the movie?
While you're doing that, I'm going to go turn off my music downstairs because I can hear it and it's bothering me. I'll be right back.
All right.
Sure.
Oddly enough, one of my favorite points of the movie, oddly enough, I like Nakamura. Just the scenes with him, it was funny.
Oh yeah.
And kind of sucked when he died. Made me sad a little bit. I kind of hoped he got away. But as I said earlier, the plot twists of the movie were good and all. The only critique I ever had about it was probably a point I really didn't understand that well. And that was with that beginning scene of the movie, it looked like they were trying to set up for some other twist down the line. But then, right as the movie starts, they kind of explain that away.
Yeah.
It just kind of threw me off. The fact the intro scene kind of makes it look more like they're going to lean towards the twist that the main character turns out to be the evil twin. But then they explain the messed up face of the sister as skin condition from a disease. And
perhaps
threw that thought process out the window.
Yeah. So, personally, just some thoughts on some of the plot points myself. I am a firm believer that sometimes madness and insanity, there is no explanation for it. So whenever I come across a story or a novel or a movie like this, where there's not a satisfactory explanation as to the why and the hows of the character motivation, I'm fine with it. I just go with it and seem to think, okay, he's just like that for whatever reason. I will say, however, there were some issues that I did have with bits and pieces. First of all, as to not seeing the child get killed on screen, that I think, I mean, you saw the two animals get killed on screen. If we saw the kid get killed on screen, that may have garnished an X rating. Because, again, this was 1981. Like, a lot of PG movies were getting away with a lot of things. Take, for instance, Poltergeist back in the day. However, I think seeing a child get mauled like that, especially with the effects that they were using, the blood effects, that may have set off, that may have gone a little too far, so that I think it was tastefully done to do it off screen and just see the body wrapped and covered, being wheeled into the back of the ambulance. Some of the more minor points, though, if I hear someone take Philippians 4:13 out of context one more time, I'm just going to flip out. Okay, but I know this is a crazy guy doing it, and the reason why he was doing that just because, but still, stop it. Just stop it, people. But that's just me. And also, the preferred rendering would actually be the little dog laughed to see such sport. Not the way he put it during the movie. Other than that, I rather enjoyed the execution of this. Del, did you have any? Were there any off-putting or things that brought you out of the movie itself?
Well, I wanted to put one more thing in that I got the shots of, that it made more sense when you were like Italian, and I went, oh. So this is the first part. This is the first time we see Mary, and this is one of the last times we see Mary. And I don't know if that was, the curtain, if that all was set up, but like it seems like that was set up to be a foreshadowing type of thing, or it's too exactly the same to be a coincidence. I think they had to have planned that in shooting for some reason, if only to annoy me, or like into making my brain say that there had to be a reason that I might be missing or something like that. But there weren't that many things that took me out of it. Once I got back into it, the only things that really kind of took me out were the people who blew off Julia, who has all these, she's like trying to convince people of stuff, and her uncle's able to just say, oh, she's just a little bit hysterical, don't worry about her. And they all, oh yeah, we'll just let her go. We won't pay any attention to her. Also, Julia is not a cat owner because she holds her cat like this, and you don't hold a cat like that. The cat was trying to get away a lot because she just, you support a cat. You're nice to a cat. You don't just let them flail and try to grab them like that. And the other one weird thing that got to me, and I didn't get the picture up for it because it didn't fit, it was far too small, was when her best friend is eating her dinner or lunch break, which is a piece of pie, and she never uses silverware. She just keeps dipping her finger into it and eating. And that was just like, do what now? Why are you eating like that? She's your friend.
Well,
you aren't trying to, romance her or anything.
Well,
you
how
just
else would
only
you
eat
eat
with your
pie?
fingers. I use a spoon.
I use a fork.
Yeah.
But
Huh.
yeah, there's so that was one more thing that drew me
Okay,
in, and a
well,
couple things that took me out.
Yeah. There was a slight minor incident where for myself, they they say they're identical twins, actress for a dual role. You know, played both the main character and her sister with some prosthesis or something. But
I think
was
that
just
might have gone over budget.
another minor issue, perhaps. Well, that would have gone over budget, and hiring a different actress.
I mean, to make it convincing that, like, trying to get the shots in. I don't think you get the same shots in with the people.
Right.
If it was the same girl back in 81 with the stuff they had then, having them both facing each other and talking would have been maybe like technologically difficult. I'm not sure. I wasn't making movies in 1981.
And
but
now I'm thinking. Yeah, true. But now I'm thinking of that scene in Star Trek 6 where Captain Kirk is talking to himself, literally. So, Friday and or Chaos. Hey, Tom, welcome to the show. But Friday and or Chaos, where were some of the things that kind of took you out of the movie?
The constant, oh, just ignore her, she's crazy. And no one, not even her best friends or boyfriend, even given her a thought of she might be actually saying the truth. Usually there's that one friend that is like, yes, I know exactly what you're saying. Let's figure it out.
Yeah. Chaos?
I don't know if I really had anything that really took me out of it, except for the fact that I thought it was kind of funny during some of the kill scenes and when they showed the dead bodies. It's almost like everybody's made of paper mache. The bodies were just made of paper mache and shit.
Filled with candy.
Yeah. Every corpse became a piñata. But of course, that was their budget. So,
yeah. Ron, do you have anything to add? I know you already gave the most of what perturbed you about the movie itself. Did you have anything else you wanted to stick on top of that?
Why, yes, I do. Like I said before, that I was perfectly fine with the first half of the movie until the big plot twist where you find out that Uncle Father James is the actual killer, and that he and Mary are in cahoots. Up until that point, I felt like the movie kept you kind of guessing as to what was really going on, because there are some scenes where the killer's not even shown at all when the dog is doing the killing. It doesn't show who's actually commanding the dog at that point. So I was thinking that if they had really wanted to, they could have written it so that it turns out Julia and Mary are the same person, and Julia is having schizophrenic episodes. Julia is the one that's actually killing off all of these people in the Mary identity. And I'd have been fine if they had left it with that, and the Uncle Father James was never revealed to be a psychotic killer. I feel like they could have expounded upon that a little bit more to show the relationship that James had with Mary, that they were in cahoots, and that they had planned this all along, and it was going to be this way. Also, the birthday party scene in the basement rather reminded me of that scene from Mandy, where they're having the party in the attic. I don't know why my brain jumped to that. It seemed like a similar sequence of events. I think that this movie could possibly be remade much better than it actually is. And I think it would go over a lot better in today's market than it did back in the 80s, when it just feels like they had a solid concept but didn't really know what direction they were going with it, and said, we need to have a plot twist. Oh, let's make it this. And then no explanation to it as to why, Uncle Father James is the one that's leading all of this. It didn't really make sense to me. So other than that, it's not a bad movie. There's a little bit of Psycho vibes to it, Norman Bates and all of that. But I just think that it could have been planned out and written a lot better to be more cohesive and not as inconsistent.
Okay, fair enough. Del, you did you want to talk about the soundtrack, various other things?
Yeah, the one thing that there was kind of a nod to, at least Uncle Father James being involved, was it's his car that you see that when she escapes from the mental hospital, and when the dog is first let out and stuff, it's all his car that's there. But it wasn't something I think that was super, super noticeable, because he had kind of a generic car, but that was there. The soundtrack, though, was something that I saw a lot of people comment on, and you've said there were so many different elements to it. Some of it I thought was incredibly good. Like, they would really draw you in with these like piano or like cellos and stuff like that, and you'd really like, okay, or a bass going on, and it's like dun, dun, dun. And then all of a sudden it would go into video game sounds, is what it seemed like to me, like a lot of synth and like, and that would really throw me out of the movie, because it was just like, what's this noise coming from? And then the little fairy tale kind of playfulness that went in some of it too. But when it would go into those video game sounds, it was really kind of weird to me as to if that was just like a trend at the time, or why they suddenly changed the soundtrack that drastically, the style of it, and then they'd go back to the regular stuff again.
Oh,
So,
yeah, that is a good question. But all in all, though, we're going to go ahead and see about giving this thing we're going to go ahead and give this thing a rating, and whether or not you would recommend this to somebody else. Starting again with Del.
I changed my mind about it. I'm going up to 3.5 stars out of 5. Or we do out of 10, don't we? So 7 out of 10. I'll give it.
Out of 10.
And yes, for my...
Okay.
Yeah, 7 out of 10. And for my friends that are into horror, that it's kind of a little different, I would recommend this to people now that I've watched it again.
Okay. Friday?
I also give it a 7, and I've already sent the link to my mother-in-law. So yes, definitely
Okay.
sharing.
Chaos.
I'd actually have to stay with them at about 7 because it wasn't a bad movie. It's just different, and she's already told my mom about it, so I don't have to.
Good on her.
I know, right?
All right. Ron, what say you?
I cannot go as high as the others have. I don't feel that it's worthy of a 7. In using House of the Dead as my midline because I gave it a 5. I still enjoyed House of the Dead more than this one, so I can't give it a 5. But I thought it was maybe marginally better than Mandy. And since I was okay with the first half of the movie and not okay with the second half of the movie, I am actually going to give it a 3.5. I still feel like there's room for improvement on it. It was not nearly as bad as Prey, and this one had a solid concept, just not a very good payoff. It sort of fell apart for me. So, but since I was okay with the first half, I'll give it a solid 3.5. It still doesn't beat House of the Dead, but I cannot give it higher than a 5 because there's got to be better out there.
It's fair.
Okay.
And
right.
I would not necessarily recommend this movie to other people. I would, however, watch it again for my own purposes, just to see if maybe on a second viewing I changed my mind about certain things.
Okay. All right. As for me, I'm going to give Madhouse. I'm going to have to go with 7 out of 10 myself. I did enjoy this on a certain cerebral level, and however, I wouldn't. I would recommend it to certain people, but for other types of people, I wouldn't really so much recommend it as I would surprise them by just playing it for them, just to see the look on their faces, because that's the way I roll. So, and normally at this point, I would have given the 5-star reviews that were on Amazon, and there were a few of them. However, tonight we're experiencing a bit of technical difficulties, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. So we'll go ahead and do we think we can manage the wheel at least?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So go ahead and do that.
Getting rid of the last ones on this wheel before we start a new one. Friday, are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Come on, Dracula.
Okay.
I'm good if you are.
3, 2, 1. And your prayers have been answered.
Yes! I don't know why I wanted to see this movie. It's been on my list to watch for a while because I keep seeing it on different streaming sites over the years. I'm like, I need to watch that at some point because I'm curious, but I never gotten around to actually putting it on to watch.
Now you get to.
Okay. Well, yay.
Now I have a reason.
So, Del, where can we find you?
You can find me here on the Owlite Network Sundays, most Mondays, I think every other Thursday, sometimes in between. You can find me every Tuesday night over on Splash Pages. Tomorrow night we have got Cullen Bunn and Tyler Crook, and I'm so excited. Some of the best horror stuff out there. It's kind of an American Gothic sort of feel to it, or folk horror going on. If you want to read and catch up with us, Harrow County is what we read. That involves both of them. And you can find me on Facebook at Carrie, Kari Sanders. If you see this crow, you have found me. You can find me on Amazon where I write things, but all of my links are on my Facebook page over on Facebook. So find me there, and half the time you'll be talking to this lovely lady below me.
All right. So Friday, where can we find you?
Other than Del's page, you can find me at Owlite. You can find me at Fake Horror. You can find me at Friday with the Library in the Blue Box. And you can find me on my author page under Jennifer Elliott.
Okay. And Chaos, where can we find you?
Find her. She's everywhere.
Cool. And
Oh, yeah. I forgot.
Ron, where can we find you?
Go ahead, Friday.
The Owlite Menagerie, our newest anthology, just came out. We are partnering with the Pro Literacy Foundation. All our proceeds for a year will go to them help other adults find the success they need and get and learn how to read. And that is one of our most favorite things ever to have worked with. And also, don't forget to join us here on Wednesday for Unprinted Pages with LV Wosor and Serena Musgraves.
Okay. Ron, where can we find you?
I am also here on the Owlite Network, usually Sundays and Monday nights, and sometimes on Fridays when I'm available for Chainer's Haunted Secrets. You can also find me on my author page on Facebook, Ronald W Gillespie Jr. -author. Go buy my book. And also buy the Owlite Menagerie anthology that just came out. I do have a short story in it, along with everybody else here, I believe, has a story in that book as well. Josh, we're going to have to bring you up to speed here, buddy.
Yeah.
And you can also find me on TikTok. I am a martial artist by trade. I make martial arts content for TikTok, and you can find me there under @WolfDojo. And anything outside of that, if you really, really, really need to get in touch with me, then just contact Friday over here, and she will get in touch with me for you because she's cool like that, and everybody loves Friday.
And I love all of you guys, including the puppet squirrel.
He's embarrassed.
Okay. And I am your Uncle Father Necro. And I am your Uncle Father Necro. You can find me in a farmhouse in eastern Nebraska. You only get squirrels, but not the puppet squirrel. And when I'm not writing or podcasting, you can also find me on various blogs, and also part of the Owlite Network. And just like everybody else, you can contact her. This is Friday, and try to get a hold of me there. So until next time, seek help.
Spay and neuter your
Read
friends.
their stories.